Hello everybody, my name is Joshua Teeters, and today I will be showing you a lab I made for my Computer Networking 484 class on cross-site scripting attacks. Today we will go over reflected and stored cross-site scripting attacks and show how to edit HTTP headers to carry those out. We will finish off by talking about alternative payloads, delivery techniques, and prevention methods. As you can see, first I've got Bbox installed here. If you need to get this installed, I have a step-by-step instruction guide of that and everything that we will do in this lab with screenshots linked in the description below. So go ahead and check that out. First, what is Bbox? It is a pre-made VM. It's based on WAP, or the Buggy web app. It's an intentionally buggy web application, so you can try out your skills in a safe environment without actually breaking anything. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is go to the WAP start up here, and that'll open up the web browser. We're going to go ahead and log in with the default credentials. As you can see right here, it's b/bug, and hit login. Now, if you see here, there's lots and lots of different bugs that we can try out today. The top right is the same list. We're going to go to the cross-site scripting section. And the very first one in here is the reflected Git attack. So we're going to go ahead and hit hack, and that'll bring us to this page. So let's go ahead and enter first and last name to see how it would normally work. Okay, put in our name, it goes ahead and welcomes us, and you can see up in the top it says PHP question mark and then first name equals foo and last name equals bar and form equals submit. So that is what we put in the boxes here. So if we change some of the things that we put in here, for example, we can go up here and type in script and close the tag script. In the middle, let's put an alert. And let's just say hacked. We can go ahead and hit enter to refresh that. And you can see that now the page gives an alert that says hacked. So it's a very simple Git method of doing it. If the parameters are shown up in the URL bar, then you are able to use this method to do that. Otherwise, you're going to have to use the post method. And the post method is the next one we'll be looking at. If we go up in the top right, we can choose cross-site scripting reflected post. And reflected here, by the way, means that you are typing something in here and then it is reflecting that code execution back at you. So you're getting whatever you type in there. So let's try out the post. Let's type in some example data. And as expected, you can see that there's nothing up in the URL bar for us to mess with, but it does still echo the data that we put in these boxes. So instead of putting it in the URL bar, let's just go ahead and put the data right in here. Okay, and as you can see now that we put the data right in the form, when we hit submit, it says welcome and it tries to display our name, but instead of displaying our name, it runs the code that we put in there, and we got the little pop-up here. So you can go ahead and hit OK on that one. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to check out how to alter HTTP headers to perform a cross-site scripting attack. First thing that we're going to want to do is go up to the top here above the URL bar. There's a Tools tab. There's a button called Tamper Data. We're going to click that, and we're going to hit Start Tamper. And then we're going to right click on the page, hit inspect element down at the bottom here, all the way over to the net tab. If this is deactivated, then go ahead and activate it. I'm going to clear it and hit persist, so that when we go to the next page, the logs will still stay behind. So I'm going to go to the top right, to choose your bug, go to cross-site scripting, reflected back button, and hit hack. Now the first thing that's going to go through is now what we want, so it's going to ask if we want to tamper with this request. We're just going to hit submit to let it go through, and the second one is what we want. So we can hit tamper, and you can see all of the HTTP headers going on here. What we're going to do is basically the back button will bring you back to whatever the refer header points to. So you can see that the refer header points to HTTP, localhost, XSS post, PHP, the current site that we are at. So then if we hit the back button, it'll go back to this site that we are on right now. But instead of doing that, we want it to run code of our own. So go ahead and erase that. And what we're going to want to do is type the following. And the reason why we're doing it this way instead of HTML tags is because it's due to the way that it runs these things. So this is going to close the string that's currently being done. It'll do a semicolon to start a new line, then it will run our line, semicolon to end it, and restart up the string again so that the rest of the page will load just fine. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stop tampering with it. So we're going to hit stop tamper and close out of it. And if we right click and hit inspect element, go back over to the net tab, you can see the request here. This is the URL. And if we look at the headers, now you can see that the refer has been changed to this alert hacked message. So what happens when you hit the go back button is it'll read whatever's in there and it will run that. So we're going to go back, and now that pop-up comes up saying hacked. So we're going to hit OK on that one. And we're going to do one more thing with the headers. So we're going to go back to tools, hit tamper, start tamper. We're going to make sure that the net is still on persist, and we're going to clear it. And then we're going to go over to cross-site scripting custom header. Going to hit hack. The same thing with this one. We're going to want to let the first one go through, and then the second one we're going to want to tamper with it. Now this time we're going to want to create a brand new header. So we're going to right click any empty space here and hit add element. And then we're going to call it lowercase b, it's big app, that's the name of the site we're on here. And then set it equal to the same thing that we've been doing before. So script alert hacked. Okay. Close the tag, and we can hit OK on that one. And it should look like this. It should say BWAPP and the script tags here. We're going to hit OK on that one. And the first thing that it's going to do is it's actually going to read off the content of the BWAPP header. And before it's even finished loading, it's going to go ahead and see or execute that code. And now we can see the pop-up right here that says hacked. If we right click and inspect the element here, we can go to net, look at the request and the headers, and we can see all the way at the bottom, this is our custom header that we just set up right here. Okay, so now we get to move on to stored cross-site scripting attacks rather than reflected. So reflected is nice and all, but stored is where you can do some real damage. In the top right, we're going to want to choose your bug scroll down until we find cross-site scripting stored blog. So this is a pretty common example of a cross-site scripting stored attack, where you can submit data to a server, in this case a blog, and it will hold that, and then the next person that comes and tries to download the data from that server, aka see your blog post, will also execute the code that you put in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in some malicious data into this blog post. So what we're going to do here is we're going to write the same thing that we did before. Script alert hack. Okay, close the tag. And then we're going to go ahead and hit submit. And you can see, just because I viewed it, then it shows up with this hacked message here. Hit OK, and you can see that there is one entry, and it's just my code here. So that's why it doesn't show up with anything. But as soon as I viewed it, then it showed the hack thing. And the thing that's really cool about this is anybody who goes and tries to view this will also have that code execute. So let's demonstrate this. We're going to go and log out. Yes, sure, we want to leave. We're going to make a new user. Log in. So we already have B, so we'll go bird. We can go ahead and just put in some dummy data here and hit create. Go back to login, bird and bird, hit to login, and then if we go over to the bug and we go back to cross-site scripting stored blog to show that blog page, now you see nothing popped up because we didn't download my old blog post yet. But as soon as we hit this show all button and we hit submit, and you can see once we hit submit, it shows the hacked message here. So we downloaded the bad message from the server here, and even though we didn't type in any code ourselves on this user, still executed the code on our end thanks to the stored cross-site scripting attack that we did before. Okay, and now we're going to talk about some of the different payloads that we can use with cross-site scripting attacks, because as great as it is to alert somebody that they have been hacked, it is even better to do something useful. And these can range anywhere from keyloggers to screen snippers, webcam takeovers, network DDoSing, system fingerprinting, forced download, token theft, lots of stuff that you can do with the payloads here. There's a lot of them that are already pre-made. Otherwise, any JavaScript or pretty much any HTML payloads are acceptable here. You can be creative. There's no internet on this VirtualBox, but we can go ahead and try one anyway. If we go back to the cross-site scripting reflected post, hit hack, go to the first name. We're going to type meta http equiv equals refresh, and then content equals 0, semicolon, https://www.google.com. And we don't need anything else, we can just leave the rest blank. And put something in the last name here. Go ahead and hit go. Okay, and then when we hit submit, it's going to take us and try to send us over to www.google.com. Now, if we actually had internet, this would probably work, but we don't, so we just get a server not found. You can see in the URL bar, this is redirected us to google.com. So if you wanted to redirect somebody, that's a great way to do it. There's a lot of different ways that you can deliver the payload. We just looked at the meta tag. We've been using the script tag. The script tag is very nice because you can just run JavaScript right there. There's also form, input, SVG, A links, objects, iframes, embeds. There's lots of different properties that you can put on those, like an onload or an on error, that you can get to execute any kind of script that you want. Now you can also point it out online and grab a different pre-made script, but we can't do that here because we are not online. There's a couple of ways to prevent against cross-site scripting attacks. The first is escaping your data, and that's taking the data and ensuring that it's secure before you send it to your server. So that's making sure, for example, that any brackets, any of the angled brackets like these that I'm typing right here, are escaped so they aren't treated as code and rather just characters. A second way to prevent against this is validating the input. So if your user, for example, cannot type these brackets, that's going to make it quite a lot harder. There's other ways to do it, but you can restrict all kinds of different things, whatever characters you want. You can have a blacklist of characters that you think would be problematic and not use those. Or even better yet, you can use a whitelist and only allow it, for example, to be A through Z, 0 through 9, and maybe like an underscore or dash. That is more secure than a blacklist. And then the other way that you can prevent against this is sanitizing user data. This is especially helpful in cases where HTML markup is involved. So if you allow people to actually do like bold tags, for example, and then you can type here, and then you can close your bold tag. If you allow this in your form editor, like a blog post, for example, sanitizing is going to be really helpful for you. But none of those three methods should be relied on alone, however, and you can use all three methods at once, and that's going to be the most secure way that you can actually do this. Well, I hope that you have learned something about cross-site scripting here. This is a basic example. There's a lot more that you can do with this. Go ahead and try out Bbox here and BWAPP. There are lots and lots of different bugs. You can see that we were scrolling through, and this is the cross-site scripting section. We didn't even do all of them, so if you want to try your hand at it, you can download this and try some of the other ones. And there are lots of different types of bugs in here too, over 100 of them. So if this is something that interests you, go ahead and give it a download. Again, links and step-by-step directions with screenshots are in the description below. Otherwise, have a nice day.